Hey. Didn't quite get all the haze out there. Hey. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Um, Excited to be back today. It's lunchtime where I'm at, so doing the lunch thing where we hang out and, learn how to do some code stuff. Today we're continuing through Epic React. Actually, it made some really cool progress. I'm really enjoying this course. I think that it's really well designed. I think there's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of tips and tricks that are I didn't know about. Just because I think yesterday I was recognizing that I am. I think when it comes to like kind of, I just follow recommendations, right? So like I've never not put a key on an array except for like momentarily by accident. Um, And so I've never really had, seen the effects of like what happens when you don't do that, like practically. So things like that have been really interesting to see. Some like performance stuff, like with useState, which had not known in the past. Really cool stuff. So anyway, really excited about what we've been learning, and I'm just going to continue. So today we are continue on hooks. I did a hooks video yesterday where we opened up the series. We did useState and useEffect, and then useEffect with persisted state. Actually, here I can just show you the screen that we're on. So actually, let's see. So yeah. Oh, sorry, just these two. Yeah, so we did useState, greeting, and then useState or useEffect, persisted state. And so today we're gonna do lifting state. We might get through to some of the tic-tac-toe. Who knows? I'll probably do this for like hour and a half-ish. And yeah, we'll kind of see where things go from there. Again, no question's a stupid question, so happy to answer what I can. But without any further ado, let's just dive in and do the thing. Okay, so what are we looking at? So lifting state is the example that we're working on right now. And we have over here, let me close these up for clarity. We have our exercise number 3 JS open, and we're reading the MD file over here. So those get constructed together into this web app. Let's read through this. So a common question for React beginners is how to share state between two sibling components. The answer is to lift state. And then this goes to a blog post by the React team. Lifting state up. I think this used to be hoisting, if I'm not mistaken, and I can't decide if I like this better or not. But anyway, so they've changed it again to sharing state between components, and this is on the new react.dev site. So interesting. I might actually make a note to myself to update some of these links. To do to react.dev equivalents. Okay. So this talks about the thing that we're covering today, and with some actually really beautiful examples. So yeah, super cool. Showing how this works visually. Love it. Okay, so we'll keep that open and jump back to where we were. The answer is to lift state, which basically amounts to finding the lowest common parent shared between the two components and placing the state management there, and then passing the state and a mechanism for updating that state down to the components that need it. So we would pass both the state itself and then the function to update it. Okay, so let's see. Peter told us we've got a new feature request for the display component. He wants us to display the animal the user selects, but that state is managed in a sibling component. So we have to migrate, we have that management to the, oh my gosh, we have to move, sorry, that management to the lowest common parent app, then pass it down. Okay, so that is our exercise. Let's see what we have over here. So we have our name, we have favorite animal, and then, hey, there, you are great. So I'm gonna say Chan is my name. My favorite animal is I can never spell it, but it's a giraffe. Is that how you spell giraffe? I hope so. I guess that wouldn't be like that. Yeah. Let's look it up. Look up giraffe. Is that spelled right? Giraffe, noun, plural, same as giraffes. A large African mammal with very long neck. Yes, cool. Okay, so we have Chan and giraffe in here. Let's see what we have going on over here. Importing React, we have a name component, which takes a name and an on name change event handler. This is a controlled component because we're actually setting the value to name. So we're opting out of the browser, updating it, and we're just kind of telling it what its value is, and then handling the changes as they are made. Let's see. Actually, I'm gonna close the sidebar. Then we have except animal. Okay, so we have something similar. It's not quite the same yet, but we have a favorite animal component. The body of this is similar, except we're holding the state locally. So this component has no internal state, and then this one does have internal state. So the instructions are delete this. It's now managed by the app, and accept animal and on changes props. So we're going to manage this or accept state and updater functions in the same way that we did on this component. Okay, so uncomment this out. Okay, gotcha. So we have this display function or component, and let's see how it differs from here. So this is taking name. This one's also taking animal though. I see. So when we uncomment that out, we need to then comment this one out. And the only difference is that it also takes animal and then spits that out. At the moment, though, because state is managed locally for animal, this state is still here, but it's not being lifted, hoisted, or shared between the components. So we need to do that. How does this work? So really, we can delete this, but what we want to do is just move it. Yeah, move it. And then let's kind of like use these APIs. So what are we changing this to? Animal and on animal change. So this will be animal, animal, and which references that state. And then on animal change is set animal. Okay. So now it's going to it's barking at us because I have the wrong syntax. Okay, so we have that, but we've now moved animal and set animal out of this, so we have to take those as props. Animal, set animal. Okay. Now, both of these are undefined. That's fine. Interesting. This one, is there like a default? Curious why these are behaving differently. Because we have nothing, and then we have undefined over here. Doesn't seem to be. So that's very curious. Okay, so either way, we're calling display with and we have to update our animal component right here. Okay, now that should be it. Yeah, there we go. Good. Okay, so I think we've done all of that. So if I do this again, we should see Chan and I can't update this component because the value is not being set. So or it is being set, but I'm not calling handle change. I need to remove this and then just let, was it point free call? So I'm actually just going to pass it the event handler function that we're getting. We could do it either way, but let me just make sure that that works. Does not. Okay, so where are we then? Okay, set animal. That is reference. I didn't spell this right. On animal change. It does help when you spell things right. And when you name things right. On animal change. Okay, cool. Now it should be set up correctly, except I'm still doing something wrong. So here's where we actually want to take an event and call it with event.target.value. Okay, one more time. There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so that all updated and we're looking good. No problems there, I think. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think we did it. So we've lifted the state literally just by moving that set state here and then just kind of rewiring everything up through props. Here you can see some interesting stuff where we're like creating this inline function to call set animal and like actually take the event. We could, if we wanted to, do that same thing on our form and just call back with the animal. I think it makes sense to pass in a function with the full like event, like assume an event handler. I think in TypeScript, you could probably, again, I don't know much about TypeScript, but in TypeScript, you could probably kind of ensure that that's a certain type of handler. I mean, most certainly you can do that. I haven't learned how though yet. So that's great. Exercise 1 complete. Let's move to our extra credit. Okay, so extra credits, co-locate state. As a community, we're pretty good at lifting state. It becomes natural over time. One thing that we typically have trouble remembering to do, though, is to push state back down or co-locate state. And then this is a blog post to Kent C. Dodd's post. State co-location will make your React app faster. Okay, so it's got a video here of that. So let's dive into this. So Peter told us that now users only want the animal displayed instead of the name. So your favorite animal is this, okay? You'll notice that just updating the display component to this works fine, but for the extra credit, go through the process of moving state to the component that need it. You know what you just did for animal component. You need to do the opposite thing for the name component. Okay, no problem. Okay, this is great. I like these little like opposite examples. So what did this refactoring look like? Well, I'm going to leave that and we're just going to render name. And we're going to take name and set name and we'll move those. We're going to move that state down into our name component. Okay, so now we have that directly. We should be able to delete these. And the only thing we need to change is move that event handler here. So set name, we'll call that directly with event.target.name value. Okay, unexpected use of name. Okay, so where are we using name? Display. Oh, okay. So display. We'll delete that. And I can't remember exactly what it said we needed to make the message say. And then we can early return, and the other one will just fall off. Okay, so it shouldn't show our name anymore, but it will show the giraffe. So I think we've done it all. Because yeah, we're not passing the name prop down from this topmost component anymore. It's all just staying there, which is great. Cool. I think that's it. I think we did. That's all there is to do on this lesson, which is great. So let's move on to the tic-tac-toe, or I guess we can. Oh no, wait, that doesn't have the extra credit. Extra credit, Chan, giraffe. Yep. Okay, cool. We did it. Alrighty. On to the next one. Okay, so we're gonna build this tic-tac-toe app, it looks like. So let's get started. This is lesson 4. Ooh, there's a class one. Interesting. Tic-tac-toe alternative migrate from classes. Interesting. If you'd rather practice refactoring a class component to a function component with hooks, then go ahead and do this exercise. You've learned all the hooks you need to know to refactor this board component to hooks. So let's make it happen. Okay, we're going to go through this example first, and then we can do the refactoring to hooks. Okay, background. A name is one thing, but a real UI is a bit different. Often you need more than one element of state in your component, so you'll call react.useState more than once. Please note that each call to React useState in a given component will give you a unique state and updater function. Okay, exercise. We're going to build tic-tac-toe with local storage support. If you've gone through React's official tutorial, this was lifted from that. Not the kind of lifted that we just learned about, but the lifted in borrowed or theft terms. This was lifted from that, except the example will still use classes. That example still uses classes. Okay, so actually it doesn't. So to do update comment about example using classes. Okay. You're going to need some managed state and some derived state. So managed state is like the actual state values that we hold, and the derived state would be like kind of state that is either like munged with that state and other data, or kind of we use that to kind of show values, I guess. So something that isn't directly held, but something that is state that we use nonetheless. You're going to need some managed state and some derived state. Managed state, defines it right here. We'll see how I did. State that you need to explicitly manage, yes. Derived state that you can calculate based on the other side, other state. Yes, calculate is a much better, much more cogent way of saying what I kind of waffled around. Okay, squares is the managed state, and it's the state of the board in a single dimensional array. So we have this, and it's only formatted to look like a tic-tac-toe board, when in reality these values are, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 positions in this array, and it's flat. This will start out as an empty array because it's the start of the game. Next value will be either the string X or O and is derived state, which you can determine based on the value of squares. We can determine whose turn it is based on how many x and o squares there are. We've written this out for you in calculate next value function at the bottom of the file. Winner. Winner will be either the string x or o and is derived state, which can also be determined based on the value of squares, and we've provided a calculate winner function you can use to get that value. Read more about the derived state. Don't sync state, derive it. This is a blog post by Kent right here, which is great. Let's do that. Okay, so we have described our alternative exercise here. We may run through that just because. And then extra credit, preserve state in local storage. So what is okay. Oh, so we just need to, okay. So the game works right now because I'm looking, oh, that's interesting. I was on the solutions tab from the previous one. I wonder, is that held in the URL maybe? Interesting. I wonder why that was, or maybe I just clicked on it. Okay, so we don't have a working board yet, which is exactly what we need. Let's look at the code. Okay, so what do we have so far? Our tic-tac-toe game. Let's hide this. Okay. Squares is the state for this component, and add useState for squares. So const squares. Okay, so we have this array, which we're filling with 9 positions, and null is the value that we're using to show that there's nothing inside of it. We'll need to follow the bits of derived states. So next value, x or o, winner, x, o, or null, state, winner, colon, winner, scratch, cat's game, or next player. Okay, so these are going to be the states of the resulting text. I've written the calculations for you, so you can use my utilities below to create these variables. Okay, this is a function your square click handler will call. Square should be an index. So if they call the center square, this will be 4. Okay, so we're just going to manage knowing kind of like where that position is ourselves. Now I'm curious, calculate winner. This is something I'm super interested in, is how they're doing these functions. So I'm interested in this. So, oops, sorry. So we'll kind of go through this first. Okay, so function app return game. So this is just render the game. No problem. Function calculate winner. So it's going to take squares, which is going to be our array of 9 elements with x's, o's, or null. Const line. So if we have 0, 1, or 2, that's a win. If we have 3, 4, 5, that's a win. 6, 7, 8, that's a win. And these are based on the index of the array, so they're not the kind of, they're 0 based. So other wins are 0, 3, 6, which would be, 0, 3, 6, 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 8. Then we have 0, 4, 8, 2, 4. Nope, sorry, 2, 4, and 6. Okay, so those are all of the potential winning combinations. So the 3 across, the 3 down, and then those 2 diagonals. Now, what does it say? So for let I, so of these lines dot length. Okay, so we're going to iterate over all of these options. A, B, C is lines. So all of these will be as A, B, and C. If squares of A and squares of A, if we have squares, and squares of A equals squares of B. I'm having such a hard time reading this. Such an interesting function. I mean, it's very concise, clearly does what it's supposed to do, but I'm having trouble reading it. Okay, so if squares of A and squares of A equals squares of B. Okay, so we're going to have squares, and let's say we have just one value in the 0 position. So we would have a squares of A, and then these would be null, right? So, or sorry, this will be 0, 1, and 2 as we go through this first iteration of this array. 0, 1, and 2. So we have squares of 0, and squares of 0 equals squares of 1, and squares of, I see. Okay. Got it. So if this is an O, and if this is an O, and that equals an O in this position, and it equals an O in this position, then we're going to return squares of A. So calculate winner. Interesting. Otherwise, we're going to return null. So it would continue. Fascinating. Okay, cool. I like it. Took me a second, but makes sense. And then it's just running this calculation over all of the possible wins. Okay, calculate next value. So squares, return squares dot filter of booleans. So if there's any nulls, these are going to get filtered out. Dot length divided by 2 equals 0. So if there's ever an odd number, it'll be X, I think, because we're starting with X. And then if it's an even number, we're going to be O's. That's clever. I like it. Okay, ESLint okay, function calculates status. Winner squares next value. So if there is a winner, then we'll say winner is whatever. And then if otherwise, this is always interesting with these double. I never fully know how to how to handle these doubles. Okay, so I think it's like, so if there's a winner, do that. Otherwise, if squares dot every, so if there's no, if all of them have a value in there that's not null or a value, then we're going to say scratch game. Otherwise, we'll say the next player is the next value. Okay, cool. When I'm writing, I tend to prefer, because this is a little, because the indentation doesn't follow, right? Like this would be maybe how I would prefer to see it, to realize that this is a subcondition of this. Because the indentation is all parallel, it can be hard for me to interpret like what the intent is, and kind of like what the control flow of it is. And so a lot of times I tend to just kind of be a little bit more verbose, and then just do early returns for every case. So we would say like, if there's a winner, return winner, and then that would exclude the winner case. And then we could say, if there's, squares.boolean.every, we return scratch game. And then as the final case, the default case, we would, do this. I actually don't think it would be any worse. Let's refactor this just for fun. So I think, let's see, if winner return let's comment this out so it doesn't keep giving us errors. So, I mean, it is definitely more syntax, right? So, oh, it doesn't like semicolons. Okay, so, and then this will be if squares.every.boolean will return this is a scratch game. And then kind of by default, it's just going to tell you the next player. Oh, shoot. There we go. Yeah, I mean, that's my preferred, but everyone has different styles of writing code. So that's what I like. All right, so we got that. That's looking pretty good. I don't think it changed anything, but it's yet to be seen. Okay, so we have the game board, which is going to render board with these additional classes on it. Let's check out the board component. Board. Okay, so we're going to be writing the board component. But there is a render function for us, which is the div. It's going to have this status, which we see here, the start button, which we see, or restart button, which we see here, and then 3 rows with squares. I'm kind of curious how this gets styled. I'm assuming it's some kind of grid, probably. Let's check out. Game board. Game board in a CSS file, presumably. Interesting. Can't easily find it, so I'm going to move on. Definitely, there are some styles that are getting injected somewhere, so. Okay, put the status in the div below. Okay, status. Okay, cool. So I think we have everything we understand enough about this game to kind of move on. This is the function your square click handler will call. Square should be an index. So if they click the center square, this will be 4. Okay, no problem. So let's wire up a click handler first. So we have a reset already. Okay, gotcha. Well, we're going to need squares in order to reset it. So let's see. So render square, and then what does this have? Select square. Select square is here. So first, if there's already a winner, or there's already a value at the given square index, like someone clicked a square that's already been clicked, then return early so we don't make any state changes, okay? Typically a bad idea to mutate or directly change state in React. Doing so can lead to subtle bugs that can easily slip into production. Make a copy of the squares array will do it. Set the value of the square that was selected, square of square equals the next value. Set the square to your copy. Okay. This is interesting. So we're not using useState. Is that part of the assignment? Okay. Squares is a state for the component. Add. Okay, got it. So const squares. We're gonna put this, pull that out of the tuple. React dot useState equals array of 9 fill null. That should have not impacted anything, which is good. let's just kind of futz around with this a little bit, and we're going to change this to all x's. Oops, all x's. Okay, so that didn't do anything. Render square. Okay, so render square. It's gonna square of that number, squares of that number. Oh, changed the wrong thing. I want to change the value to x's. Okay, uppercase x's and then uppercase o's. Okay, great. Okay, so we know. Yeah, let's change that all to x's. So then we know that when we click something, we can check to see if, or do the early return. So, okay, so we select squares, but we also need an index, right? Okay, so on clicked, select square of index. So we have select square, but then we have, oh yeah, so this is not squares, this is square. So we're getting the square, and then we want to check it to make sure that there's nothing in there. So squares of square, I don't know what, not equals null. I mean, we're assuming that they're null, right? I mean, I guess we could just do some kind of like implicit check. So if squares of square, we're going to do something. Otherwise, we're going to return. This isn't technically an early return. But we'd have to negate it, right? If not, squares of square return, and we're not going to do anything. We're just going to return. Otherwise, we'll update the state. Okay, so let's also alert in square. Square. Okay, so if I click this, I should get an alert saying like, hey, there's nothing to change in there. But I need to put it before there, before we return. So, no, oh my gosh. If there is something in there, I want to do that. Oh man, brain is not on fire today. Nothing to change in square. That square. Okay, cool. Nothing to change in square 8. Perfect. Okay, so that's exactly what we want. I guess we could actually leave that. Okay, cool. Now, ideally, we would maybe not fire this at all, right? So how would that look? We would have a button that has the class of square with, I mean, I guess no event handler. So if squares of I, we're going to return that one. Okay. Yeah, so if I try to do that, it doesn't even call that function, which is actually kind of preferred, maybe. I guess we could do this a little bit. I mean, I might separate these out because I'd probably want to have some kind of class as well. Like, right, like we would have a class without hover. is probably the way that I would manage that there. So we would render a button with a different, an additional class in here that didn't have the right styles, or an additional class here that had the styles. And then we would kind of, not provide an event handler on that one. Okay, so that actually negates the need for this up here. So I'll comment that out. Okay, first, if there's already a winner or there's already a value at the given square index, like some clicked a square that's already been clicked, then return. Okay, so we did that. It's typically a bad idea to mutate. Okay, so we need to update state in the case. I guess we should leave this here actually. If we want to be defensive, we should leave this here just in case this changes, this ever changes, so that we still prevent that. Okay, so we're going to make a copy of squares, but we can actually do that with set state, or with our, what is it, set squares? Okay, so we're going to use set squares of, and we have the value, what is it, next value. Okay, so we're going to take the we're going to take the squares and we'll return those squares spread out and then how do we do the index of that? Man, I need an extra coffee today or something. Really losing it. Okay, let's just reconstruct it. So we'll do this. So we have a new squares here. So what we want to return is let result equal the squares, and then result of the index that we want. Where is that index? Oh yeah, because if we want to do this immutably, we'd have to slice those, which is always unpleasant. Let result of, do we have the index somewhere? Yes, square equal next value. Next value is not defined. Okay. So where is it? We have a helper function that actually gives us that. So calculate next value. So we can just, I guess we can just call that directly. Okay, let's jump to that. Okay, so it takes squares. Okay, so we're going to pass in squares. Shouldn't take that much brain power, but it does today. It does today. Okay, so let's change these back to null because right now we can't click any of them. So we're changing the null values back to null, which means that we should be able to click some of them. So as we click them, I break the app. Let's see why I broke the app. So console, You're calling React DOM client, create root container. Okay. Cannot read property of undefined reading 0. Okay, let's check out our squares. Okay, so we have our array of 9 nulls, which is exactly what we thought we wanted. Okay, let's log result. We could use a step debugger, but I prefer pain, I guess. Okay, so we got that. Okay, so the result of, now we don't want squares here. Oh, we don't have a square. That's the problem. Okay. Yeah, we do. Okay, so we have square here. Console.log. So actually, screw that. Okay, so we're going to hit this. And it's going to step us into this debugger where we can just kind of like play around with some stuff. So where is the console? Okay, so console. So I should be in this context now. So I can log result. Okay, okay, so result of square is null. Okay, results of square equals uppercase X. Results. Okay, so that is it. Oh, hey, what's up, Skillful Work? Good to see you. Yeah, debuggers are sweet. It's one of those things, I don't know why I get caught up in like just console log hell. But yeah, just putting debugger is great, and I never do. Not sure why. Okay, so we have the result we want, and then I don't need to return something because we're setting the state. But we're not setting the state. That's the problem. Okay, so return set squares of result. Okay, cool. I think I can take this out now. I think we got it. Okay, let's refresh this. I'll open this again. I took our debugger out. Okay, so it's still complaining. Cannot read property of undefined reading 0. So this is for render square. Oh, you know what? We didn't do calculate next value. Okay, so we're going to click that. And then what is calculate next value of squares? So it's X. Okay. So result. Okay, so we're seeing that result. Okay. Oh. Oh, duh. So I'm in the set squares call. Oh my word. What is wrong with my brain today? So I just need to return the result. Good Lord. Oh my word. I'm so broken today. Whoa. Ah. Finally. Okay, cool. So oh, amazing. Amazing. Magic. Yes. Man, remembering what context you're in is, oh man, so critical. And I do this all the time where it's like, oh yeah, I get so like focused on like what is this, and then like do the thing at the end of it. But uh, just remembering I'm in this set squares already. Like I just need to return it. Okay, cool. So we got it, and it works great. Awesome, 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 awesome. Yes, magic, magic. Okay, so we got that. And then let's see. So now we don't have a restart. So the first thing that I want is a restart. Let's implement that. We have a button down here that is already wired up for a restart, and we have calls a restart function, which we haven't implemented yet. So we just need to reset the squares. So we'll take this. This is the implementation of that. So we want to just reset those all to null. And honestly, we could dedupe this, since we use it in two places. So, we have some kind of like clear function, which may be kind of nice. But right now, let's just do it. So we're going to set squares and do that. Now we don't need to take a value in this case because we're just obliterating it. Yeah, set squares. Okay, cool. So that should be fine. Let's try that. And then boom. Okay, cool. So squares are at 0 again. I actually am going to call that. So let's create a function called clear squares and have it return a new array of 8 nines. And then we can just call, actually, I guess this doesn't even need to be I guess a function would give us a new array every time. Yeah. Clear squares. Okay, so we have that, and then we can do that here as well, I believe. Clear squares. Okay, so now we've kind of put that implementation into one place. So we can go this far, clear the squares, and then clear the squares again. Okay, cool. So we have that using the next value. We haven't figured out a winner yet, but we can do that next. Okay, so the winner, I think we put the winner in a message, right? So we may want to, let's display the message first. So display the message in the div below. So this will be, what are we setting here? Calculate status. Let's see. And so the winner, okay, so we're going to pass in, it's asking for a winner, but we don't know what the winner is. Oh, calculate winner of squares. There we go. Okay, so that's not exactly what we want. We actually want calculate status of calculate winner of squares. And then what else? Squares, and then next value. Except next value is, what is next value? Calculate next value of squares. Now this isn't ideal that we have all of this in this. Would probably set some like intermediate variables up, but let's just see if it works. Okay, cool. So the next player is X, next player is O, next player is X, next player is O, next player is X, next player is O, next player is X, winner X. Okay, let's restart. X O X O X O. Winner is O. Great. Okay, cool. So it seems to be working. Are there any other things that we need to do to make this better? Okay, so having these as variables would probably be nice, just because there's a lot of. I'm gonna delete some of this code just so it's all closer together. Now that we've gone through the instructions, and I think we have function your square can handle. We'll call square should be an index. So if you click the center square, okay, cool. Okay, so let's pull all that. So we've pulled this into clear squares, which is great. I think because this is going to happen on every render, we can create certain values for these things. So calculate winner of squares. So we could say const winner equals calculate winner of squares. See squares, and then what was this? Calculate next value. We could change this. Oops. Const next value. Okay, so now anywhere that we have calculate winner, just say winner. Okay, and then anywhere we have calculate next value, we can just say next value. Okay, so this is a good, yeah, okay, so I think that this should be fine. Let's see. Because it is calculating it on every render, so it should still work. But, let's, validate that. So X, O, X, O, X, O, the winner is O. And then if we do X, O, X, O, X, winner is X. And then we do this. Oh, shoot. Okay. X would need to go there. And then, oh shit, I did it again. Man, it's so hard to make a cats game when you want to. So X, O, X, O, X, O, X, O, X. Okay, cats game. Whew. Okay, we did it. Okay, so it looks like it's also working with that. I don't think there's any issues there, which is great. Let's just take a look at the solution for this and see if there's anything there that could have improved this for us. Okay, so there's quite a bit different stuff here. Now we do set those variables, which is great. So next value, winner, and status. Okay, so they do a winner status or status winner on its own, which is cool. So function select square. So if there's a winner or squares of square, interesting. Something's already on there. Okay, so there's a winner case too that we hadn't thought about. So if you want, yeah, so if there's a winner and there's open squares, you can't add new squares, obviously, or you shouldn't be able to add new squares. So squares copy. I tend to like result for this kind of stuff. I guess it doesn't matter in this context, but like if you're doing it inside of this, with like by taking squares and then kind of making a copy of it and by taking it as a function argument, I do like having the using result. It does feel kind of conventional, where you're returning something. Okay, and then I think the rest is the same. Like we didn't really touch any of the rest of it. So cool. I'm not gonna really touch the class one, because I don't care that much. Let's see, because I think it's an alternative anyway. It's not really like a extra credit or anything like that. Okay, so let's look at the extra credit on this. What's our time looking like? Okay, so it's been almost an hour now. Extra credit. So preserve the state in local storage. Our customers want to be able to pause a game, close the tab, and then resume the game later. Can you store the game state in local storage? Yeah, we definitely can. So I think it was 3. Where was it? 3JS, 2JS. Where did we make a use? Yeah, so we made this. I'm going to copy that. And I love how these examples come together, by the way. Okay, and then we're going to put that outside of our board game. And instead of use state, we'll use local storage state. That did not work. Oh, I got to give it a key is why. Let's just tic-tac-toe. Okay, cool. So if we do this, we hit enter. Yes. Cool. O, X, X. Oh, X wins. Okay, cool. Let's see now what we have. If we go to our application, local storage, right there, our TTT. Oh, this is interesting. Tic-tac-toe history. These must be from these final examples over here. Cool. So we just have the whole, right now we're just putting the whole game in there, which I think is fine. Cool. So we did that. Nice and easy. Just copy and paste. Okay. Preserve the state in local storage. Okay. We've done that. Use local storage state. It's cool that we can get local storage support with a simple use effect, but it'd be even cooler to use the use storage state hook that's already written for us in source utils. Okay, cool. So in this directory somewhere, so we have source examples utils.js does this. Okay, so we're going to import that. Okay, import use local storage state and delete that. Perfect. This should still work. Restart, put a couple pieces on the board, and we're good. Nice, easy. Okay, you refactor your code to use that custom hook instead. This should be pretty quick. Extra credit. Yes, it was. Add game history feature. And yeah, one thing on this real quick. I have found personally that VS Code does a pretty good job. If I type import and then use local storage, it'll actually like look through these like the available modules, and then I just hit tab and it'll actually import it the right way too, which is really clever. This works best with named modules because it can statically analyze those. It can kind of do a decent job sometimes with defaults if you name it. Like if you kind of pick the name of the file name, I guess. So I don't know, something to think about. Okay, extra credit 3, add game history feature. So open localhost isolated file for ext3 and see that the extra version supports keeping a history of the game and allows you to go backward and forward in time. See if you can implement that. This extra credit is one of the hardest extra credits. Don't worry if you struggle on it. Tip. Final example, you store the history of squares. Tip. In the final example, we store the history of squares in any array squares in an array of arrays. Good Lord. Uh, more coffee, please. Step 0 squares and step 1 squares, etc. So we have two states, history and current step. Okay. Tip, in the final example, we move the state management from the board component to the game component, and that helps a bit. Here's what the JSX return from the game component is in the final version. Okay, so let me open up this final or this version. Okay, so we have the game here, and then in this one, the game board squares restart. So a lot of it moves up. Okay. So we're going to be tracking the moves. Now, sometimes for me, it can be helpful to see this. And so I don't like want to cheat, but I do want to see what the end experience is. So we're going to hit X, O. Okay. So we have this thing that says go to move, and we can jump back in time. Okay, now if we jump back in time and we create a new move, okay, it'll replace the history. So we can go back, go to game start. So it doesn't replace the history until after we've made a new move. Okay, that seems fairly intuitive. Okay, so what did it tell us to do? It wanted us to a final for. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, and see the extra version supports keep. Okay, cool. So it actually told me to go check that out. Okay, cool. Let's start on this. I don't know how far we got, but let's do it. Okay, so okay. One more thing. Kind of want to see the shape of the. This is probably cheat. This is probably legitimately kind of like cheating or getting ahead. Okay, so we're storing an array of boards, which is definitely the easiest way to do it, because you can just load in a whole board instead of having to replay all of the moves from the beginning. We're just kind of snapshotting each move as we do them. And then if we store an array of those arrays, then we naturally keep track of the number of moves that it took to get there. Okay, cool. I guess let's start by putting this onto local storage. Okay. So use okay, now since we're okay, yeah. Since the first part of this is going to be so I have TTT. I'm actually gonna this is kind of interesting. So I'm gonna write out okay. So I want to start putting these into, so we're going to call this TTT history. Okay. But then the use storage, use local storage. So when we update this, so where are we calling set squares? Okay, so where we update this is going to be a little bit different. Because we're going to store a whole game board in an array. So the initial state of this isn't going to be 9 squares. It's going to be in an array. It's going to be an array of 9 squares like that. Then when we set squares, this will be a little bit different in that what we get here is actually the history. And we're going to take the history and so let's call this new move. Will be a new array of history. I think there's a new array API for the last. It's at -1, I think. At -1. Okay, so what we want is the array at -1 is the most recent move. And then we're going to take new move of square and put our next value in it. And then the result will be yeah, no, not off topic at all. So yes, I do. I use the Vim plugin. Let's see. So, whoops. Is that how we get there? Yeah. So Vim. I use this one. I think it's like the official like Vim emulation Visual Studio Code. And it's pretty good. Actually, I've been using Vim or like Vim motions for like, I don't know, like actually longer than that, like maybe like 11 or 12 years now. And it's great. I love them. Actually, I think in a couple of weeks I'm going to be on the VS Code live stream, and I think we're going to end up talking about Vim, which could be, or this Vim plugin, which could be really fun. But yeah, I used what's it called? Sublime Text 2 for a while. Yeah, so I used Sublime Text 2 for a while, and with Sublime Text 2, they had like a Vim mode built in, and so that's where I kind of started using it. Then I kind of moved to Vim proper. I'm not exactly sure why I did that. I think I was like on a real like terminal kick at the time, and so I was using Vim with what's it called? Tmux, the terminal multiplexer. And so I was using Tmux and Vim a lot, so I could like store my Vim sessions and then recall them with Tmux, which was pretty cool. And then I kind of just hated anytime I had to configure Vim because VimScript is absolute garbage, and which got me onto Emacs Evil Mode, which is maybe the best emulation of Vim, really good. Plus, you have all the power of Emacs. They have a really good package manager, a good package ecosystem, and whatnot. Problem there is that even though Lisp is better than VimScript, I had no other place that I was like writing Lisp in my life. And so I was like, screw it. I'm just going to do VS Code. At the time, the Vim emulator was not very good. Now it's significantly better. And yeah, it's like good enough, I think. And honestly, I don't really even know what, like, there's probably a lot of things that I think are Vim that are actually like VS Code Vim at this point. So uh, is what it is. Okay, cool. So yeah, so let's basically I'm trying to recreate the same thing except storing all the moves in history. So the result then is going to be that whole history. Or I guess let's make a new array with the whole history plus new move. I'm sure that I screwed this up, but we'll find out to which degree in a second. Okay, so we have TTT history, and it stores in there an array of, it just stored an array of 9, which is not ideal. So let's see what happens. So I hit that and it explodes. Why did it explode? Let's go to the console to find out. History at is not a function. Okay, cool. Let's use our debugger. Try this again. We're going to click that. It's going to spit us into a debugger. Okay, history. Okay, type of history. Or is it array? History dot at should be a function. That's not right. Oh, right, because I haven't properly done this. Okay, so there is not, it's not an array of arrays yet. So let's delete this and see. It should be resetting. Oh, no, wait. Okay, so yes. At the beginning, it should put there. Okay, so that was just kind of, it didn't do, because I was initializing it. I need to reset it. So let's see. So let's change our reset function so that I can reset that in the future. So that's going to be, reset is now going to be an array with those items in it. Okay, so, nope, array, there we go. Okay, so if I hit reset now, it should continue to reset that. Let's just double check that by putting X's in there. Oof, that's weird. Oh, yeah, the rest of the board isn't set up to understand this yet. Okay. Cool. All right, so that worked-ish up to this point. Yeah, so let's see. So I've been using NeoVim a lot at work as a quick way. It's a quick way to pull up and research through code. I've gotten used to navigating that way, but VS Code Vim can be a bit sluggish for me. Oh yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's VS Code is not. I love it and like hate it, but yeah, speed is not its strong suit. Large files definitely not its strong suit either. I used this editor like BBEdit, and man, that thing you could load like gig files and it would just no problem, fine. It was just happy as a clam. I miss that. Okay, so where are we still getting into trouble? So rendering, it's trying to render all of these into a single space, which makes sense. So we need to update our render squares. And maybe we need to set up some kind of like convenience variable for like current board, current. Yeah, let's just go with that. So that is going to be the it's interesting because we've named this squares. So actually, let's do this. So squares, so we're going to reassign that. Where now squares, we're going to have, let's see, history of dot at -1. Wait, why does it hate that? Unexpected use of history. Okay, yeah, and so then this will be history, and this will be set history. Okay, so now I need to find. Okay, so this is going to have to go up because we actually reference it here. And so this will be set history. Do we have any other set squares? Yes, so this will be set history. Now we can actually change this now because clear squares is giving us this new array, or I guess we should call this clear history now. Clear. Okay. Okay, and that actually worked because I just didn't fix this code yet. This needs to be null. So now when I hit reset, we get that. Okay, cool. It's coming along. Let's go into our application. Let's see, TTT history. Okay, so we reset 0 to history. So if we had 1, we get the debugger. Okay. Now that's us. So we're going to have the history, which will be an array of arrays, which should include our null array, which is great. And then we should have a new move. Oh, we haven't defined that yet. So we need to step through. Let's, where were we? Okay, source, that's where we were. Okay, so we need to, let's see, I can never remember these. Remove script step over next function call. Okay, so that's going to give us our new move. Okay, I'm not sure where there should be so there should be a inline. Okay, so new move. Man, this is irritating that I have to go back and forth on these. That shouldn't be the case. I should be able to hit escape. Oh, now I can get it. Little bug, I guess. Okay, so we're on new move. Okay, so we want to step over again, and then we should have a new move now, which should represent our new board, which it does. So we have our X in the first position. And then if we step over this, we should get our results, which should be 2 arrays, our null array and our X plus null, or X in the first position history. And so if we resume that, then it should, yes. Okay, cool. Now, let's go into our application and watch what happens as we add. Debugger. Okay, so let's take that debugger out and then restart this. Okay, cool. So the debugger is no longer in there. It did resume our game, which is nice. Let's open up our application. local storage squares. Okay, so we don't want squares. We want the TTT history. That's ours. This is the final example one. Okay, cool. Awesome. O's turn. Great. Okay, cool. So did it track all of those? Let's make sure. So we have our history where, yeah, so added an X, added an O, added an O, added an X. Okay, cool. This is very cool. So we have that now. We added, we kind of saved ourselves quite a bit of effort by kind of doing this maneuver. So like basically like keeping squares as a variable that we use, but just like reassigning it. So now everywhere that we use squares, which is actually a lot of places, is able to kind of operate with the same assumptions that it did before. Now it is a little tricky because we have to kind of like make sure that we didn't, aren't accidentally doing stuff. So let's see, what is select square? Yeah, select. So because select square is using our aliased squares, that also still works, which is cool. Yes, right here. Squares of square. Okay, cool. So now we need a means of presenting this history and making a selection. Now I'm going to do this all in this component because what we have, and I'm a little bit over the amount of time that I wanted to spend on this today. So let's make an unordered list, and in that we'll have a list item, and we'll have a button, and on click it will do something. Handle. So we have a restart one. This will be go to history. I don't know, that's a terrible name. Go to history, and then we'll give it an ID, I think. History ID. Actually, that's not really an ID. It's going to be an index because we're going to get it from our array. Now, for a key, this is kind of an interesting thing. Like, we don't really have unique IDs on this yet. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue that we re-render this. So I'm not too worried about like the performance implications of not using a great key. But we could kind of use, I think, if we wanted to, as our key, use the like like a hash of the game, I guess. So like okay, so first let's actually get some data to work with. So we have let's see, what do we have? So we have history dot map. We're gonna take each what is this called? Play. So each play, and then that is what we will use to render this. Okay, so it's complaining to me because, so here right now we're just going to do okay, so that's the index, and then go to history of play of index. I think that's what we want. And then here we could just do JSON dot stringify the play. And then go to history. We don't have that as a function yet. But then this will be, I can't remember what the readout was for this. Let's see, go to play number index +1. Okay, so then go to history is going to be a function. It's very imperative, but it's fine. It's fine. It is what it is right now. And so then this will be a play index. And here we're going to set the history to be the current history and slice at the index. I think. So slice, and it's going to be sliced from 0 to the index. Okay, so why doesn't it like, it's just syntax. Okay, are we in the right game now? Function. Okay, so it doesn't like something already, so let's figure out what that is. Open this up. JSON strongify. Oh, strong bad. My kids are super into strong bad, by the way, which is funny given how old it is. All these things are resurging. Okay, so where did I do that? Strongify. So that's going to be stringify. Okay, cool. So we have go to play number 1, number 2. Okay, so we have our list, which is cool. That adds to the list, which is great. Let's see what our keys look like. I can do that by, the keys aren't going to be in the DOM, I don't think. Oh, shoot, I don't have React Dev Tools on this. On this one, let's see. Yeah, it's not. But we could also just make this the ID to see what those are. Okay, it's going to complain about not having a key. That's fine for now. List item ID. Go to one of these. Why you got no ID? JSON stringify. Oh, that's right. We need the history of play. History. Oh no, we have the whole play. I wonder why that isn't working. Maybe I need to reload. No, it definitely. Let's see. Now I'm getting in my own head about all this stuff. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we have an ID now. All right, I guess I did need to reload. ID of each of these gameplays. So this will be unique. But I don't know if it actually provides a lot of diffing value. Not that it matters in this case, but whatever. It is a unique key. So is what it is. Okay, so we have that. Now, moment of truth. Let's see if we can actually go back to a play. So if we go back to 5. Yes. That is sick. Okay, now when we went back to 0, it got pissed. Why is that? Okay. Oh, because play of 1. So the first one needs to be like reset or something. So key, and also we can use literal keys too. So we can just make one like reset. And then this one, I guess it could be a button, but it's going to have no action. I guess we could put our reset. Yeah, actually, why not do that? I'm just recreating it anyway. And so then this, let's see. So restart. And then I guess we're only going to want to do this for plays that are yeah, because 0 is always going to be restart, right? So let's try that. Now, how do I do this if I want to slouch in? That means I'm tired. I need to be done with this problem. Okay, so we have I'm trying to think of how we could do this. I guess we could slice off from 1 to history at history dot length. Okay, so we restart, we get our first play. I guess we do. Okay, so if we restart, that takes us back to 0. If we hit this, we do actually want to go to the first play, right? So this will be go to play of I. So restart. Man. Always off by 1. Okay, so we have this. So we're slicing off 0 from our history because that's always going to be a full reset. In which case I don't know if, yeah, we don't really need a reset function if it's always going to be like, 0. Okay, so when we do this, we're starting at the index of 1, which is always going to have a move. Key is that. And then that should go to I-1. That seems... Okay, so if I want to do... Oh, man. Of 0. Okay, so what am I doing wrong here? So history dot length map play. Maybe I need to do this all over again. Okay, so let's think through this. Okay, so we're gonna have the top ones of these. Okay, that worked. Oh, interesting. So it doesn't show up until after we've moved past it, which kind of makes sense because I think that's kind of how the other one was as well. So, but we can go back to, oops. That breaks it. So we go back to play 2. We should only see 2 moves on the board. we see 0. Okay. There's only one way I know how to solve this problem for myself, and that's to do it all manually and then go from there. The key, key 1. Okay, and then we're gonna have a go-to history of 1. And we'll say if this will be history.length is greater than or equal to 1, then we will do this. And we'll go to history of 1 and okay, so that clearly didn't work because our history oh shoot. Okay, I need to keep an eye on what's actually being stored in here. So let's delete that, return, or re-render. Okay, so we have this here. This this is tricky. Okay, so our history.length is greater than or equal to 1 is the only time that we render this. So I'm not sure why that's rendering. Okay, so because it needs to be greater than 1. Okay, so we hit 1. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to change these to 2 now. I had a second move. Now it's going to put a second there. But this actually needs to be disabled. If it's the current one. Let's see. Let's make sure that that works. Okay, cool. So now I'm doing it manually, obviously. So then I should be able to go back to 1 and it should just show the X. It does not, which means that what do I need to do? So I need to go back to history of 2. It was interesting too because it's like I have to make these replayable too. Like it's just frick. Okay. It's an interesting challenge. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish it today because I'm already way over. Okay, cool. So that's it for today. I was really hoping that I could get through that, but there's a lot of challenges that I need to work through, and my brain's kind of not super on fire today. So anyway, time for me to get back to work. Thanks for hanging out. If you want to hang out with friends, join the Discord server at discord.gg/lunchdev, where we hang out and have a good time. Lots of great people there. I think we're actually going to watch Hackers sometime soon, which will be fun. I think we're deciding on that. Oh, hey. Oh, Johnny Big Odes. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Sorry that I'm leaving just as you jump on. But it is. I mean, if you wanted to watch it, I think it'll be around for a little bit. Also, streaming on YouTube, so those will be on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@Chandastic. But yeah, I'll definitely be doing this again tomorrow. So if you want to tune in around the same time, right around noon, I'll be figuring out the rest of the kind of like tic-tac-toe thing. But yeah, so that's it. Thanks for hanging with me. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe I won't. But hopefully I'll see you around in the Lunch Dev Discord server. That's it for today. I will see you tomorrow.